Hello everyone. This opportunity, I'm going to review Donald Trump's book, which is called Crippled America, How to Make America Great Again. I'm looking at the screen since there's a lot of information to review of this book. Okay, well, he wrote this book in 2015, just before being elected. Okay, as you may have already know, of course, he was elected on 2016. He won the U.S. elections that year, and so for some U.S. presidents, it is like like a tradition to write a book, and before they get elected, and when they write this book, they mention all of the problems that their country, the United States, are facing at that specific moment, and they show solutions. They discuss the possible schemes, the possible plan that they figure out, how to solve those kind of problems that the country is facing. And so this was a really interesting book. It's not, it isn't so common for, when presidents are going through their election phases, let's say like that, the moment when a president is before being elected, like it's in a run for presidency. It isn't so common that a president writes a book. Okay, I believe that it should be something like compulsory. It should be on law that anyone before being elected for meaning, or even before being a candidate for presidency, they should write a book. Because this is a way that formally a candidate for presidency can write his thoughts about how things on the country should be run. Okay. Well, at the moment of publishing this book, he said himself to be worth more than 10 billion. We're talking about 2016, so I don't know how much he's worth right now, but at the moment, in 2016, he said that he was worth more than $10 billion. A lot of agencies put this figure way too high. Some agencies said that he was worth more in the range of $3 to $5 billion. But well, everyone always exaggerates themselves, and so anyway, he was very rich. Okay, he was a billionaire in the moment he wrote this book. So if he was 10 billion or 5 billion or 3 billion worth, who cares? Okay. He said that one of the most important things about his campaign was that he was self-funded. Okay, nobody was paying him money, to support the campaign. It was all running on his own money. He was getting all the money from his own pocket. And so he mentioned that this fact made him, be very authentic on all what he said, because he firmly believed that a lot of politicians on the United States, because they are being funded, they have to obey an agenda. Okay, they can't really say things as they are, but they have to obey some rules about what things to say and what things not to say. And so in he's very, he really mentions in his book that his agenda is the American citizens' problems. Okay, he isn't. He wants just the best for American citizens. He isn't, in line with any corporation or any sort of that. And so he can tell the awful truth as it is, because no one is paying him for the campaign for the presidency. Okay. Okay. He said that he didn't care for politics until that moment. Okay, he said that he always said to friends that he had a really successful business to run. A lot of his friends and familiars told him that he might, or maybe he should run for presidency. They told him that on 2000, before 2016, and he always said that he had to run the business. That he didn't have time for that. He didn't have the interest for that. But when he saw how the country was running up, all of the troubles, the problems that America was facing, he said that he had to stand up and do something about it. Okay, let's move on. Okay, he says that due to his, and of course he has a point of this, due to his background on business, of course because of the company, the corporation that he has created, and he, of course for the moment, he had some really nice experience, a nice background running a really big business, and even though a government isn't necessarily the same as a corporation, it has some similarities, and on government or in any corporation, you really have to get things done. Doesn't matter so much constructing real estate as because Donald Trump, his main segment in the industry is real estate, doing houses, buildings. I believe it isn't any more complicated or different than running a state, and I know that an state is more complex because you have a foreign policy. Okay, you have to make agreements, you have to make trade agreements with other countries, but at the end of the day, it's just to get things done. Okay, you you have some set of problems, and you really have to know how to fix those problems. Maybe you can hire people, or you on your own you can just give ideas. But at the end of the day, the same is the same thing for everyone. You gotta solve issues, okay? Solve problems. So because he has a really, we could say he has a really successful company, we could say that he might as well extrapolate or carry over those knowledges, that experience he has accumulated during all of these years to running the presidency of the United States. Okay. Of course, we are looking at this at hindsight, because we are right now in year 2025. Almost 10 years since he started his 2016 campaign. So. For that moment, for 2015, 2016, it seemed like obvious for everyone that someone like him would be the best person in that moment to run the presidency of the country. Even myself, even though a lot of people saw, a lot of people felt controversy about him running the presidency. I didn't see it like that at the moment. I believe that it was something interesting to look at, because it wasn't so common that excuse me for a second, it wasn't so common for a billionaire to run for presidency. I think this was, I don't know if this is the unique time that someone, having a corporation run out for presidency. I don't know, I haven't checked for that, but well, it seems obvious that it was like something something obvious, not obvious, but something great, that the country could be run by a former CEO or former president of a great corporation. If he was the president and the CEO of the Trump corporation, we might expect that he was like knowledgeable enough like to run a country. Okay. So one of the things he claims a lot during his book is that he supports gender equality, and he was one of the first to start hiring women in a male-dominated industry. He said he has hired a lot of women for his business. This, of course, was said because at some time he was accused for misogyny. I'm not going to dig too much about that. In that moment, almost 10 years ago, I remember that I read a lot about supposed claims about Trump treating bad women. I don't really know much about that, but well, in the book he is very explicit about that. He treats women exactly the same as men, especially in his work. He said that he has hired a lot of women in his work. He has given a special, like the jobs. A lot of executive jobs have been run by women in his corporation. And well, it is a point that, as he explicitly tells it in his book, I thought it would be worth mentioning it here in this review. So let's go forward. Okay, so he focused on 17 points in his book. It would take hours for me to go for every single point. So I'm going to just check 5 points. Okay, the most important 5 points, which are immigration policy, energy debate, the right to bear arms, rebuild infrastructure because it's crumbling, and taxes. Okay, so let's get started with immigration policy. Okay. He says in his book about the immigration policy that he isn't against immigration. He wants illegal immigration to stop. Okay, he mentions that even his father and his mother were immigrants to America, and he isn't satanizing or anything like that the immigration issue. He says that he's welcoming everyone to the United States, everyone who wants to go to work there legally. Okay. Not illegally, not trying to to go through the system without the due process. That's what he means. Okay, I know that the media a lot of times said that he was racist and didn't want any immigration. No, that he says that isn't true. Okay, he's particularly concerned with the border with Mexico, where he said he was willing to build a wall extending at least 5,000 miles. Some areas, he said, are already secure with physical barriers. In other areas, the terrain is too difficult for people to cross. Okay. Well, as you might know, how can people immigrate to the United States? Okay, you have in the north the Canadian border. From what I know, there isn't any issue with Canada regarding the immigration. Okay, the immigration problems occurs mostly in the south with the border with Mexico. They have a lot of sea. Okay, well, at the north they also have a border with Alaska, but there isn't any problem there. They have a lot of coast in the south, in the east, and in the west. Okay, through the coast, basically there isn't so much problem because most of the immigrants that had arrived to the United States through the sea are from Cuba. Okay, people running away from the dictatorship that there exists in Cuba. So basically from Cuba is where they get immigration. But this as a percentage of population isn't so much of a deal. The big deal is in the border with Mexico, okay? In the border with Mexico, they share like, I mean, United States and Mexico, they share like, I don't know, more than 2,000 miles of border. So, you know, it's a lot of place, it's really big, you know, people really have a lot of space to get to illegally enter to the United States. Okay, so he says that, okay, for 1,000 miles, they have to make a wall for 1,000 miles. That's a lot of distance, okay? It's hard to imagine doing that. Well, China built a great wall 2,000 years ago. Okay, so I know it's not impossible; it can be done, but it's a lot of kilometers or a lot of miles that you have to cover. You know, to cover 1,000 miles. He says that there were at least 351,000 criminal illegal prisoners, and it was costing more than $1 billion a year just to keep them in prison. He says that criminals should be reported to the countries of origin because USA does not have to pay for the prisons. Well, yeah, I agree with him that one. He says that Central and Latin America countries aren't doing enough to keep their bad people inside their respective countries, but are facilitating their entrance to the USA. He says birthright citizenship. Okay, about birthright citizenship. The 14th Amendment has been interpreted to mean that any child born in the USA automatically is an American citizen, and that baby can be used to keep its family there. Okay. The 14th Amendment was never intended to be used that way. Its original purpose in 1868, following the Civil War, was to guarantee all rights granted to citizens in the Constitution to freed slaves. And then in 1898, okay, the Supreme Court ruled that with certain specific exceptions, the provision of the 14th Amendment granted citizenship to the children of those lawfully who gave birth on America's soil. He says that 14th Amendment was never intended to create a whole new path to citizenship. Okay, this is something very controversial right now. When a child is given birth in the United States soil, that child automatically receives a U.S. citizenship. And well, he's claiming here that shouldn't or isn't supposed to be like that. Okay, it's supposed to be if a woman, a U.S. citizen woman, a woman who is legally in the United States gives birth in American soil. Okay, then this applies. But as we are currently looking at it right now in American soil, when immigrants give birth in American soil, he says that it isn't supposed to be like that. All right. I can say if I agree with this or not. Okay, I'm just telling what the book is telling. Okay, in some points I might give my point of view. In this one, I'm just mentioning what he said. Okay. Nevertheless, he said he would work towards better systems for expediting legal immigration, because there is a lot of brilliant and hardworking people who want to live and contribute to USA economy, but to whom the process is too slow and difficult. Yeah, I agree with this one. I believe that there are a lot of hardworking people who have great ideas, can really contribute to USA economy, USA art, USA citizenship. But the process, I believe, sometimes it's too slow. Okay, so the country has a lot of barriers for those people, and he's saying that. Okay, he's acknowledging that the country has to run a better system for these people to be able to live in the USA. Okay. Well, in summary, he wants to change immigration policies so that people who can contribute to USA can get there legally and easier, while making it impossible for criminal elements and other people to get there illegally. He wants good people to go there from all around the world, but legally. Okay, this is a section of immigration policy of the book. Okay, of course, there's a lot of not a lot of more information. I would say there's a lot more of written knowledge in these pages. Of course, if you want to learn more about this, you should just read the book. And you will see all what he wrote. But this is a summary of the most important parts of immigration policy. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, the energy debate. According to the Department of Energy, the natural gas reserves that USA have in the ground could supply the energy needs for centuries. Okay, start drilling everywhere oil is accessible. And I'm telling you points that I'm reading here. I'm going to tell my point of view in short. Solar panels don't make economic sense, he says. They don't provide enough energy savings to cover their cost of manufacturing, installing, and using them. They are subsidized and take several decades to get your money back. He doesn't deny the possibility that someday in the future this kind of green energy will be more efficient and will be more cost effective, okay? He isn't denying the fact that in the future, with more upgrades, with more technology, we can have a real green energy, but as he's mentioning right now, it doesn't make sense, okay, economical sense. Of course, he said that he doesn't believe in the climate change, okay? I know that there's a lot of debate with the climate change. The climate change has a lot of people backing it up, others against it. He said that he's against the climate change. He says that the climate has changed a lot of times, even when there wasn't any fossil fuels burning. So his point of view is that the United States has to exploit their strengths, and those strengths are natural gas and oil. Okay, Bill Gates, according to him, said in 2015 that renewable energy can't do the job. The cost to generate that much power from solar and wind energy would be, he said, beyond astronomical. The answer to supplying our future needs in energy is going to come from technological breakthroughs yet to be achieved. Okay, so this was said by Bill Gates. So, Bill Gates is a very knowledgeable person, and he is saying it very clear. Okay, he isn't denying that in some moment we will have a source of green energy good enough like to do the job, but it is yet to come through technological breakthroughs. Well, the bottom line from this section of energy debate is that the USA is going to remain dependent on oil and natural gas to fill their energy needs for a long time in the future, until there is a better alternate or green way of supplying their energy needs. They must work with the resources they already have. Okay, this is like a summary of the energy debate section of the book. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this is a really interesting one. I'll try to keep it short. Okay, the right to bear arms. Okay, he mentions the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment of the United States says the right of people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. Okay, he says that we have to keep guns out of the hands of people with mental health issues. Okay, the right to bear arms, it has been a very controversial topic in the United States. It's the same as the energy issue. It has a lot of people backing it up, a lot of people against it. I won't give my personal point of view about that. I will just have to say, he says here that we have to keep guns out of the hands of people with mental issues. Okay, he's saying that everyone should be able to carry guns. Okay, it is a right for the U.S. citizens. It is okay, but what I can't be agree with him is the part of the mental health issues. Okay, it is extremely complex, and you know that it is extremely complex to know who has mental health issues and who hasn't. Okay. Particularly with the human beings, we are, like we never know who had a terrible bad day and suddenly wants to commit something like that. Okay, but I know that the part about the mental health issues isn't something like people suddenly wake up one day and they start shooting at a church or at a mall to other people. I believe that this is this is something like a building which gradually starts building on layers. So I believe that, so part of me is with him on this one, and part of me is against him, because part of me is with him in that, okay, they have the right, and will the guns increase or decrease criminality? I don't know. I believe, yeah, it will make the criminals like more. It will make the criminals more conscious that people around them have guns. So in this case, you might argue that criminality will go down. But the problem with people accessing so much guns is that the wrong people will have access to too much powerful guns. Okay, so when those kind of persons have access to so much powerful guns, that's where the problem comes from. When those people have guns in their hands with those buildings in their heads, with mental issues, that's the problem. Okay, and it's incredibly hard to know in advance who has those kind of mental issues and who doesn't. Okay, especially introverted people who never tells anything are I believe the most dangerous people with that, because if they don't even post on social media, they just keep it for themselves. Those kind of people are the most that USA government has to worry about. But well, this is a section of the right to bear arms. He extends here a lot about explaining why should the USA keep the Second Amendment, in March. Well, I don't have anything else to say about this point. Let's keep moving. Okay. Rebuild infrastructure because it's crumbling. Okay. This plan will create thousands of jobs through building and repairing roads, bridges, tunnels, and energy grid. He says that infrastructure is crumbling: airports, bridges, water tunnels, power grids, rail systems, roads corroded with potholes. He says that every time he goes to China, he sees cranes rising buildings. That's completely right. Completely right. China is always building. He said that USA's infrastructure is crumbling in part because they don't spend enough to fix, build, or maintain it. Europe and China spend as much as 9% of their GDP on infrastructure projects, whereas USA spends only 2.4%. Okay, GDP is gross domestic product. It's the complete sum of internal transactions on the country. You know, the liquidity, and well, China and Europe spend 9% of their GDP, which is a lot compared to the United States, which is spending only 2.4%. Okay, Moody's Financial Investment Agency calculated that for every dollar of federal money invested in improving infrastructure for highways and public schools would generate 1.44%. That means 44% more of money back to the economy. This is because these projects put people to work: manufacturers, suppliers, designers, lawyers, etc. Of course, since Donald Trump has construction and real estate background, he might have some great cards with a national plan to rebuild infrastructure. He has been there, done that. Yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, my point of view about this specific topic, the rebuilding the infrastructure of the country, is that he has a lot of background there. He could, we were talking in hindsight, he could help a lot on building, on doing plans for rebuilding the country. Well, this is all what I have to say about the rebuilding infrastructure. Okay, and finally, the final point is about taxes. Okay, one of the most important points of the book: taxes. What everyone wants to hear: what is going to happen with the taxes? Okay, so he said, if you are single, his proposed plan for the taxes. If you are single and earning less than US dollars 25,000, or married and earning less than US dollar $15,000, you will not owe any income tax. Okay. So I believe that like more than 60 million homes in the United States will be, they wouldn't have to pay any income tax at all, and that would mean a lot of money in the pockets of American citizens. Of course, beyond those earnings, those annual earnings that I mentioned, citizens would need to pay taxes. He said he would eliminate the death tax, this helping families keep what has been earned. Okay, in the United States, there's something called death tax. Okay, let's say that you accumulated during your lifetime $10 million, okay, and you die, I hope so, you die very, very old, and well, your family has to, extract, this, your family has to use those $10 million that you left. According to the U.S. law, those $10 million will have to pay some taxes, okay? I don't know the percentage, but it's like double taxing, because if the person already worked through his entire life and he accumulated those savings, it's because he paid taxes before saving that money, okay? So it's like paying double, and he wants to quit that law. He wanted to eliminate the death tax. And okay, let's keep moving on. He said that this will make middle class have more money in their pockets, consumer spending will increase, personal debt will decline. The plan states that any business of any size will pay no more than 15% of their business income in tax. This is higher right now. I don't really know the current percentage tax for business income, but at the 15% is a very acceptable number. Even globally, it's very competitive right now. This plan will also require companies with offshore capital to bring that money back to the United States at a repatriation rate of only 10%. That money is not being brought back because the tax rate is so high. Okay, let's keep moving. Deductions for charitable donations and on mortgage interest won't be touched. American-owned corporations have as much as $2.5 trillions in cash sitting overseas. A key component of this plan is a one-time repatriation of corporate cash now held overseas at a 10% tax rate. Okay. So that means that to bring back those $2.5 trillions, it will cost them only $250 billion, okay, 10%, to bring back that money to the United States. How to pay for this plan? He says, revenue neutral. Economic growth will be triggered by putting more money on citizens' pockets and by the new jobs created. Okay, he says that the combination of all of these points about the taxes. I said income taxes, eliminating income taxes for certain earning ranges, eliminating the death taxes. Putting the 15% on business income in tax for corporations and small businesses, and the repatriation of the US $2.5 trillion. He says that this as a combination will increase the spending of the American citizens. And of course, if you repatriate all of that money to the economy, imagine all the jobs that will be created. It will be massive, massive movement of money in the economy. So this is this was the final point about the taxes. Yeah, this was a very interesting book because I got to know you get to know what he wanted to do in that moment. I know that right now he's doing his second term in the United States. It will be interesting to know when he finished his first term in the United States presidency, if he accomplished any of this. I would have to dig a lot on the internet to know if he accomplished all what he said he was going to do or not, But well, I really hope that you have enjoyed this review of the book. If you want to read it, completely read it, you can just buy it on your local library, or you can just order it online. Well, that's all what I got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.